Turn it down. Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Gotcha. Shayla had your habits, trouble. Shalom, shalom, hallelujah. Yes, had a great rest. Had such a great rest yesterday. Josiah, shalom, shalom. Alicia, yeah, got you. Bringing a tiller today. Okay, I just saw your message pop through. Jewelry risings, jewelry risings. Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead. We got all this together already. Everything is up and ready to go. All right, so let's get started with the shimmer, y'all. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, and observe to, Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as He has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. It is Saturday. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Oops. I need this. Uh-oh. Sorry, y'all. I closed out the wrong box. All right, y'all. It is Saturday, March the 13th, 2021. Day 100. 100. This is our third time reaching day 100. Day 100 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count. We are on day 769. And that is without the Sabbath days being counted and without the feast day Sabbath days being counted, y'all. So we actually close to the 1,000-day mark in actual counting if we had counted those days. But anyway, guys, we're going to begin watching for the new moon starting tonight. I had it calculated that she was going to show, what is it? Actually, I had it calculated that it was actually going to show tonight. And so, but we'll see. And then we'll begin day 1 tomorrow of the new month. And that if the new moon, in fact, does show tonight, then my pre-calculations would be correct. And I can give y'all the exact day of Passover tomorrow. Yeah, if it shows tonight, tomorrow will be day 1. And then if that, in fact, is the case, then Passover would be the 27th. Feast of Unleavened Bread will start the 28th, but let's wait until she shows. We're verified, so make sure we get our days right, y'all. Super excited about this. So super excited about this. Okay. Lavon, good morning. Peace and blessings, Tiffany. So, boom. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and start in Judges. Judges chapter 7. Josiah, did you ask me something? Oh, okay. You was looking at me like you was waiting on the answer. Okay. So, Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and his army got up early and went as far as the spring of Harod. Trina, hey girl, hey. The armies of Midian were camped north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. Yahuwah said to Gideon, "You have too many warriors with you. If I let all of you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they saved themselves by their own strength. Therefore, tell the people, whoever is timid or afraid may leave this mountain and go home." So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 warriors who were willing to fight. But Yahuwah told Gideon, "There are still too many. Bring them down to the spring, and I will test them to see who will go with you and who will not." When Gideon took his warriors down to the water, Yahuwah told him, divide the men into 2 groups. In one group, put all those who cup water in their hands to lap it up with their tongues like dogs. In the other group, put all those who kneel down to drink with their mouths in the stream. Only 300 of the men drank from their hands. All the others got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. Yahuwah told Gideon, with these 300 men, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send all the others home. So Gideon collected the provisions and ram's horns and the other warriors and sent them home, but he kept the 300 men with him. Excuse me. Rosina, good morning. Uncle Nathaniel, greetings. Yahuwah told Gideon, with these 300 men, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send the others home. So Gideon collected the provisions and ram's horns and the other warriors and sent them home, but he kept the 300 men with him. The Midianite camp was in the valley just below Gideon. That night, Yahuwah said, get up, go down into the Midianite camp, for I have given you victory over them. But if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you will be greatly encouraged. Then you will be eager to attack. So Gideon took Purah and went down to the edge of the enemy camp. The armies of Midian, Amalek, and the people of the east had settled in the valley like a swarm of locusts. Their camels were like grains of sand on the seashore, too many to count. Gideon crept up just as a man was telling his companion about a dream. The man said, I had this dream, and in my dream a loaf of barley bread came tumbling down into the Midianite camp. It hit a tent, turned it over, and knocked it flat. His companion answered, your dream can only mean one thing. Yahuwah has given Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite, victory over Midian and all its allies. When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed and worshipped before Yahuwah. Then he returned to the Israelite camp and shouted, get up, for Yahuwah has given you victory over the Midianite hordes. He divided the 300 men into 3 groups and gave each man a ram's horn and a clay jar with a torch in it. And then he said to them, keep your eyes on me. When I come to the edge of the camp, do just as I do. Do just as I do. As soon as I and those with me blow the ram's horn, blow your horns too all around the entire camp and shout for Yahuwah and for Gideon. It was just after midnight, after the changing of the guard, when Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Suddenly they blew the ram's horns and broke their clay jars. Then all 3 groups blew their horns and broke their jars. They held the blazing torches in their left hands and the horns in their right hands, and they all shouted, a sword for Yahuwah and for Gideon. Each man stood at his position around the camp and watched as all the Midianites rushed around in a panic, shouting as they ran to escape. When the 300 Israelites blew their ram's horn, Yahuwah caused the warriors in the camp to fight against each other with their swords. Those who were not killed fled to places as far away as Beth Shittah near Zererah and the border of Abel Meholah near Tabah. Then Gideon sent for the warriors of Naphtali, Asher, and Manasseh, who joined in chasing the army of Midian. Gideon also sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim, saying, come down to attack the Midianites. Cut them off at the shallow crossings of the Jordan River at Beth-barah. So all the men of Ephraim did as they were told. They captured Oreb, Zeb, the 2 Midianite commanders, killing Oreb at the rock of Oreb and Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. And they continued to chase the Midianites. Afterward, the Israelites brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon, who was by the Jordan River.
I got mine now.
Didn't you just have one? You had a different one.
I just bite some and bite some and bite some and bite some.
All right, little girl. All right, y'all. Judges chapter 8. Yeah, the movie 300. Yes, that's where they got the concept from, Trina. Absolutely, from Gideon, the story of Gideon, right? Judges chapter 8. Then the people of Ephraim asked Gideon, why have you treated us this way? Why didn't you send for us when you first went out to fight the Midianites? And they argued heatedly with Gideon. But Gideon replied, what I have accomplished compared to you aren't even aren't even the leftover grapes of Ephraim's harvest better than the entire crop of my little clan of Abiezer?
Mom, these are yours.
No, it's yours now because you're opening up about to eat it.
Well, these are your ice creams.
No, I actually had that saved for Dad. Remember I said yesterday, I said, don't touch these. Dad likes these. We're going to save these for him. Yeah, I must have forgot that, huh? And you and Josiah both grabbed one this morning. Now we got to buy some more. Yeah, now don't look at me like that, shaking the bag like, yeah, y'all ate Dad's stuff again. This is what he be talking about, y'all. Y'all be hearing him in the morning. He come down here looking for something. Like the cheesecake, the last thing I heard about was the cheesecake. In my defense, we got another cheesecake for him. The next day, we got another cheesecake. That New York cheesecake. He loves it. Okay. Now they're eating his ice cream, his chocolate, they call drumsticks. The ice cream cone with the chocolate and the nuts and stuff all on it. Okay, let me get back to this video. But Gideon replied, what have I accomplished compared to you? Aren't even the leftover grapes of Ephraim's harvest better than the entire crop of my little clan of Abiezer? Yahuwah gave you victory over Oreb and Zeb, the commanders of the Midianite army. What have I accomplished compared to that? When the men of Ephraim heard Gideon's answer, their anger subsided. Gideon then crossed the Jordan River with his 300 men, and though exhausted, they continued to chase the enemy. When they reached Succoth, Gideon asked the leaders of the town, please give my warriors some food. They are very tired. I am chasing Zebah and Zalmunna. Welcome to Zalmunna. Zalmunna, that's real close. Catch Zebah and Zalmunna first, and then we will feed your army. So Gideon said, after Yahuwah gives me victory over Zebah and Zalmunna, I will return and tear your flesh with the thorns and briars from the wilderness. From there, Gideon went up to Pineal and again asked for food, but he got the same answer. So he said to the people of Pineal, after I return in victory, I will tear down this tower. By this time, Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor with about 15,000 warriors, all that remained of the allied armies of the east, for 120,000 had already been killed. Gideon circled around the caravan route east of Nobah and Jogbehah, taking the Midianite army by surprise. Zebah and Zalmunna, the two Midianite kings, fled, but Gideon chased them down and captured all of their warriors. After this, Gideon returned from the battle by the way of Heres Pass. There he captured a young man from Succoth and demanded that he write down the names of all 77 officials and elders in the town. Gideon then returned to Succoth and said to the leaders, here are Zebah and Zalmunna. When we were here before you, you taunted me, saying, catch Zebah and Zalmunna first, and then we will feed your exhausted army. Then Gideon took the elders of the town and taught them a lesson, punishing them with the thorns and briars from the wilderness. He also tore down the tower of Pineal and killed all the men in the town. And then Gideon asked Zebah and Zalmunna, the men you killed at Tabor, what were they like? Like you, they replied. They all had the look of a king's son. They were my brothers, the sons of my own mother, Gideon exclaimed. As surely as Yahuwah lives, I wouldn't kill you if you hadn't killed them. Turning to Jether, his oldest son, he said, kill them. But Jether did not draw his sword, for he was only a boy and was afraid. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said to Gideon, be a man, kill us yourself. So Gideon killed them both and took the royal ornaments from the necks of their camels. Then the Israelites said to Gideon, be our ruler, you and your son and your grandson be our rulers, for you have rescued us from Midian. But Gideon replied, I will not rule over you, nor will my son. Yahuwah will rule over you. However, I do have one request, that each of you give me an earring from the plunder you collected from your fallen enemies. The enemies, being Ishmaelites, all wore gold earrings. Gladly, they replied. They spread out a cloak, and each one threw in a gold earring he had gathered from the plunder. The weight of the gold earrings was 43 pounds, not including the royal ornaments and pendants, the purple clothing worn by the kings of Midian, or the chains around the necks of their camels. Gideon made a sacred ephod from the gold and put it in Ophrah, his hometown. But soon all the Israelites prostituted themselves by worshiping it, and it became a trap for Gideon and his family. That is how the story of the people of Israel defeated Midian, which never recovered. Throughout the rest of Gideon's lifetime, about 40 years, there was peace in the land. Then Gideon, the son of Joash, returned home. He had 70 sons born to him, for he had many wives. He also had a concubine in Shechem, who gave birth to a son whom he named Abimelech. Gideon died when he was very old, and he was buried in the grave of his father Joash at Ophrah in the land of the clan of Abiezer. As soon as Gideon died, the Israelites prostituted themselves by worshiping the images of Baal, making Baal-berith their god. They forgot Yahuwah their God, who had rescued them from all their enemies surrounding them. Nor did they show loyalty to the family of Jerubbaal, that is, Gideon, despite all the good he had done for Israel. Right? As soon as Yahuwah brings them a deliverer or a judge or somebody that's going to turn them back into the ways of Yahuwah, they act okay until that person passes away. And then it's back to the shenanigans. And you know the cycle. We should get it by now, right? Okay, Judges chapter 9. One day, Gideon's son Abimelech went to Shechem to visit his uncles, his mother's brothers. Remember, Abimelech was the son that he had by the concubine. Okay. He said to them and to the rest of his mother's family, "Ask the leading citizens of Shechem whether they want to be ruled by all 70 of Gideon's sons or by one man. And remember that I am your own flesh and blood." So Abimelech's uncles gave his message to all the citizens of Shechem on his behalf. After listening to this proposal, the people of Shechem decided in favor of Abimelech because he was their relative. They gave him 70 silver coins from the temple of Baal-berith, which he used to hire some reckless troublemakers who agreed to follow him. He went to his father's home in Ophrah, and there, on one stone, they killed all 70 of his half-brothers, the sons of Gideon. But the youngest brother, Jotham, escaped and hid. Then all the leading citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo called a meeting under the oak beside the pillar at Shechem and made Abimelech their king. How do you kill all of Gideon's sons, right? You got 2 still alive. The vagabond that's now their ruler, and Jotham, who got away. When Jotham heard about this, he climbed to the top of Mount Gerizim and shouted, "Listen to me, citizens of Shechem. Listen to me if you want Yahuwah to listen to you. Once upon a time, the trees decided to choose a king. First they said to the olive tree, 'Be our king.' But the olive tree refused, saying, 'Should I quit producing the olive oil that blesses both God and people just to wave back and forth over the trees?' Then they said to the fig tree, 'Be our king.' But the fig tree also refused, saying, 'Should I quit producing my sweet fruit just to wave back and forth over the trees?' They said to the grapevine, 'Be our king.' But the grapevine also refused, saying, 'Should I quit producing the wine that cheers both God and people just to wave back and forth over the trees?' Then all the trees finally turned to the thorn bush and said, 'Come, be our king.' And the thorn bush replied to the trees, 'If you truly want me to be your king, come and take shelter in my shade. If not, let fire come out from me and devour the cedars of Lebanon.' Jotham continued, 'Now make sure you have acted honorably and in good faith by making Abimelech your king, and if you have done right by Gideon and all of his descendants. Have you treated him with the honor he deserves for all he accomplished? For he fought for you and risked his life when he rescued you from the Midianites. But today you have revolted against my father and his descendants, killing his 70 sons on one stone, and you have chosen his slave woman's son, Abimelech, to be your king just because he is your relative. If you have acted honorably and in good faith toward Gideon and his descendants today, then may you find joy in Abimelech, and may he find joy in you. But if you have not, acted in good faith, then may fire come from Abimelech and devour the leading citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, and may fire come out from the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo and devour Abimelech. Then Joseph escaped and lived in Beer, because he was afraid of his brother Abimelech. After Abimelech had ruled over Israel for 3 years, Yahuwah sent a spirit that stirred up trouble between Abimelech and the leading citizens of Shechem, and they revolted. Yahuwah was punishing Abimelech for murdering Gideon's 70 sons and the citizens of Shechem for supporting him in his treachery of murdering his brothers. The citizens of Shechem set an ambush for Abimelech on the hilltops and robbed everyone who passed that way, but someone warned Abimelech about their plot. One day, Gil, the son of Ebed, moved to Shechem with his brothers and gained the confidence of leading the citizens of Shechem. During the annual harvest festival at Shechem, held in the temple of the local god, the wine flowed freely and everyone began cursing Abimelech. "Who is Abimelech?" Gil shouted. "He is not the true son of Shechem. He is not a true son of Shechem. Why should we be his servants? He's merely a son of Gideon, and this Zebul is merely his deputy. Serve the true sons of Hamor, the founder of Shechem. Why should we serve Abimelech? If I were in charge here, I would get rid of Abimelech. I would say to him, get some soldiers and come out and fight." But when Zebul, the leader of the city, heard what Gil was saying, he was furious. He sent messengers to Abimelech in Arumah, telling him, "Gil, the son of Ebed, and his brothers have come to live in Shechem, and now they are inciting the city to rebel against you. Come by night with an army and hide out in the fields. In the morning, as soon as it is daylight, attack the city. When Gil and those who are with him come out against you, you can do with them as you wish." So Abimelech and all his men went by night and split into 4 groups, stationing themselves around Shechem. Gil was standing at the city gates when Abimelech and his army came out of hiding. When Gil saw them, he said to Zebul, "Look, there are people coming down from the hilltops." Zebul replied, "It's just the shadows on the hills that look like men." But again Gil said, "No, people are coming down from the hills, and another group is coming down the road past the diviner's oak." Then Zebul turned to him and asked, "Now where is that big mouth of yours? Wasn't it you that said, 'Who is Abimelech, and why should we be his servants?' The men you mocked are right outside the city. Go out and fight them." So Gil led the leading citizens of Shechem into battle against Abimelech, and Abimelech chased him, and many of Shechem's men were wounded and fell along the road as they retreated to the city gate. Abimelech returned to Arumah, and Zebul drove Gil and his brothers out of Shechem. The next day, the people of Shechem went out into the fields to battle. When Abimelech heard about it, he divided his men into 3 groups and set an ambush in the fields. When Abimelech saw people coming out of the city, he and his men jumped up from their hiding places and attacked them. Abimelech and his group stormed the city gate to keep the men of Shechem from getting back in, while Abimelech's other 2 groups cut them down in the fields. The battle went on all day before Abimelech finally captured the city. He killed the people, leveled the city, and scattered salt all over the ground. When the leading citizens who were in the tower of Shechem heard what had happened, they ran and hid in the temple of Baal-berith. Someone reported to Abimelech that the citizens had gathered in the temple, so he led his forces to Mount Zalmon. He took an axe and chopped some branches from the tree. Then he put them on his shoulder. "Quick, do as I have done," he told his men. So each of them cut down some branches. Following Abimelech's example, they piled the branches against the walls of the temple and set them on fire. So all the people who had lived in the tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech attacked the town of Thebez and captured it. There was a strong tower inside the town, and all the men and women, the entire population, fled to it. They barricaded themselves in and climbed up to the roof of the tower. Abimelech followed them to attack the tower, but as he prepared to set fire to the entrance, a woman on the roof dropped a millstone that landed on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. He quickly said to his young armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and kill me. Don't let it be said that a woman killed Abimelech." So the young man ran him through with his sword, and he died. When Abimelech's men saw that he was dead, they disbanded and returned to their home. Well, we still know because she made it into the book, right? A woman dropped a stone on your head, my G, and you asked your servant to kill you, so it wouldn't be said that a woman killed Abimelech. She did. And you just helped them go the way of the grave a little bit faster. In this way, Yahuwah punished Abimelech for the evil he had done against his father by murdering his 70 brothers. Yahuwah also punished the men of Shechem for all their evil. So the curse of Jotham, the son of Gideon, was fulfilled. All right, y'all. So that was Judges 7, 8, and 9. And so we're about to get more details of this story by hopping over here to the Legends of the Jews, seeing that it is lining up. And so we are actually starting right at the section where it begins talking about Gideon. So we are in volume 4, chapter, what was this, chapter 2? Yeah, chapter 2. And we're on page 399 for those that have the same size book as me. If it's the smaller book with different page numbers, it's the subsection entitled Gideon. Okay. All right, y'all. Elated by the victory over Sisera, Israel sang a hymn of praise, the song of Deborah, and Yahuwah to reward them for their pious sentiments, pardon the transgression of the people. But they soon slipped back into the old ways, and the old troubles harassed them. Their backsliding was due to the witchcraft of a Midianite priest named Ehud. He made the sun shine at midnight, and so convinced the Israelites that the idols of Midian were mightier than Yahuwah, and Yahuwah chastised them by delivering them. And do you want to close that a little faster, please? Thank you. Sheesh. Hold on. Let me go back up. Their backsliding was due to the witchcraft of a Midianite priest named Ehud. He made the sun shine at midnight, and so convinced the Israelites that the idols of Midian were mightier than Yahuwah, and Yahuwah chastised them by delivering them into the hands of the Midianites. They worshipped their own images reflected in the water, and they were stricken with dire poverty. That sounds like they were a little bit conceited. They worshipped their own images reflected in the water. Y'all better be careful, y'all that prance back and forth in front of the mirror all day. I'm just saying. Not that you shouldn't go make sure you together. But those that stand up, oh, you look so, hold on, wait a minute. And that, my dear friends, could get you in trouble. That's worshiping your own image. Your own image, right? Hold on, let me go back and read it. Their backsliding was due to the witchcraft of a Midianite priest named Ehud. He made the sun shine at midnight, and so convinced the Israelites that the idols of Midian were mightier than Yahuwah. And Yahuwah chastised them by delivering them into the hands of the Midianites. They worshipped their own images reflected in the water, and they were stricken with dire poverty. They could not bring so much as a meal offering, the offering of the poor. On the eve of one Passover, Gideon uttered the complaint, "Where are all the wondrous works which Yahuwah did for our fathers in this night, when he slew the firstborn of the Egyptians, and Israel went forth from slavery with joyous hearts?" Yahuwah appeared unto him and said, "Thou who art courageous enough to champion Israel, thou art worthy that Israel should be saved for thy sake." An angel appeared, and Gideon begged him for a sign that he would achieve the deliverance of Israel. He excused his petition with the precedent of Moses, the first prophet, who likewise asked for a sign. The angel bade him pour water on the rock, and then gave him the choice of how he wanted the water transformed. Gideon desired to see one half changed into blood and one half into fire. Thus it happened. The blood and the fire mingled with each other, yet the blood did not quench the fire, nor did the fire dry out the blood. Encouraged by this and other signs, Gideon undertook to carry the war against the Midianites with a band of 300 of God-fearing men, and he was successful. So it said that there were a few. It said there were other, encouraged by this and other signs. And we know that one of the other signs that was performed was the wool fleece, right? And the dew, but they only told us about that one, right? They didn't tell us about the blood and fire mingling, but not quenching one another, drying out the other, right? They didn't tell us about this one or any of the other ones, the other signs that he asked Yahuwah or the angel of the Most Holy to show him, right? Encouraged by this and other signs, Gideon undertook to carry on the war against the Midianites with a band of 300 God-fearing men, and he was successful. Of the enemy, 120,000 corpses covered the field, and all the rest fled precipitately. Gideon enjoyed the privilege of bringing salvation to Israel because he was a good son. His old father feared to thresh his grain on the account of the Midianites, and Gideon once went out to him in the field, saying, Father, thou art too old to do this work. Go thou home, and I shall finish thy task for thee. If the Midianites should surprise me out here, I can run away, which thou cannot do on the account of thy age. The day on which Gideon gained this great victory was during the Passover, and the cake of barley bread that turned the camp of the enemy upside down, of which the Midianite dreamed, was a sign that Yahuwah would espouse the cause of his people to reward them for bringing a cake of barley bread as an omer offering. And we actually read about this dream over here in Judges. The dream is actually told in Judges, right? They're not telling the dream here. They're just giving the gist of the dream here. Remember, Yahuwah said, if you're afraid, go down there to the Midianite camp and listen and hear what they are saying about you and your men. He said, and when you do, you're going to be encouraged. And when he got down there to the hills, he overheard the Midianites talking about a dream that one of the old guys had, and then somebody else came in and gave an interpretation, right? It's the same thing. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of water. Jeez. Okay. Okay. After Yahuwah favored Israel with great help through him, Gideon had an ephod made, and the high priest's breastplate. Joseph was represented among the 12 tribes by Ephraim alone, not by Manasseh too. To wipe out this slight upon his own tribe, Gideon made an ephod bearing the name of Manasseh. He consecrated it to Yahuwah, but after his death, his homage was paid to as it was an idol. And we read about that, right? Over in Judges. We literally just read about that. In those days, the Israelites were so addicted to the worship of Beelzebub that they constantly carried small images of this god with them in their pockets. And every now and then, they were in the habit of bringing the image forth and kissing it fervently. Of such idolaters were the vain and light fellows who helped Abimelech, the son of Gideon, by his concubine from Shechem, to assassinate the other sons of his father. But Yahuwah is just. As Abimelech murdered his brothers upon a stone, so Abimelech himself met his death through a millstone. It was proper then that Jotham, in his parable, should compare Abimelech to a thorn bush, while he characterized his predecessors, Othniel, Deborah, and Gideon, as an olive tree or fig tree or a vine. Right? Look. Okay, so if you didn't read Judges and you just reading this, you won't get how he compared, but we actually read see how it, man, I wish all of this was kept together so you get the full picture, right? But in Judges, we read, he gave them a parable about the grape tree, the olive tree, the vine, the fig tree, and the olive tree. He said, why should I leave my duty of producing olive oil and sway among the trees, right? That was this. Okay, I just want to make sure y'all was paying attention. Hold on. Let me go back up. Of such idolaters were the vain and light fellows who helped Abimelech, the son of Gideon, by his concubine from Shechem, to assassinate the other sons of his father. but Yahuwah is just. Remember, Yahuwah meets out measure for measure. Measure for measure. We did that video a few days ago. Probably been about 2 weeks now. Measure for measure. If y'all missed that, y'all need to go back and watch that video. Let's give you some good details. Measure for measure. Whew. Look. As Abimelech murdered his brothers upon a stone, so Abimelech himself met his death through a millstone. It was proper, then, that Jotham in his parable should compare Abimelech to a thorn bush, while he characterized his predecessors, Othniel, Deborah, and Gideon, as an olive tree, or a fig tree, or a vine. This Jotham, the youngest of the sons of Gideon, was more than a teller of parables. He knew then that long afterwards the Sumerians would claim sanctity for Mount Gerizim on the account of the blessing pronounced from it upon the tribe. For this reason he chose Gerizim from which to hurl his curse upon Shechem and its inhabitants. His successor to Abimelech equal, if he did not surpass him in wickedness. Jair erected an altar unto Baal, and on the penalty of death he forced the people to prostrate themselves before it. Only 7 men remained firm in the true faith and refused to the last to commit idolatry. Their names were Duel, Abit, Yisrael, Jekuthiel, Shalem, Asher, Jehonadab, and Shemiel. They said to Jair, "We are mindful of the lessons given to us by our teachers and our mother Deborah. Take ye heed," they said, "that your heart lead you not astray to the right or to the left. Day and night ye shall devote yourselves to the study of the Torah. Why then dost thou..." On Saturday. "Why then dost thou seek to corrupt the people of Yahuwah, saying, Baal is God, let us worship him? If he really is what thou sayest, then let him speak like a god, and we will pay him worship. For the blasphemy they uttered against Baal, Jair commanded that the 7 men be burnt. When his servants were about to carry out his order, Yahuwah sent the angel Nathaniel, the Lord, over the fire, and he extinguished the fire, though not before the servants of Jair were consumed by it. Not only did the 7 men escape the dangers of suffering by death, but the angel enabled them to flee unnoticed by striking all the people present with blindness. Then the angel approached Jair and said to him, "Hear the words of Yahuwah ere thou diest. I appointed thee as prince over my people, and thou did break my covenant, seducing my people and seek to burn my servants with fire. But they were animated and freed by the living, the heavenly fire. As for thee, thou wilt die, and die by fire, a fire in which thou wilt abide forever." Thereupon the angel burnt him with 1,000 men whom he had taken in the act of paying homage to Baal. Y'all want to play around with these unseen forces that would make themselves seen at any given moment? I'm telling y'all, they here. They still here. They ain't never stopped being here. And
Mom,
if you obey Yahuwah's commands and keep them.
Mom.
Yes, baby girl.
Can you press a button?
Why are you going to press a button?
Because them all wet.
Oh, you switch loads for me? You just want to turn the dryer back on. No, don't turn it on yet. Don't turn it on yet.
It's really big.
Okay, you can cut on in a minute. Okay, let's go to the next section. Jephthah. The first judge of any importance after Gideon was Jephthah. He too fell short of being the ideal Hebrew leader. And I know why. I cut myself off and I started reading. For those that keep Yahuwah's commands, especially in these coming days, if you haven't already, you'll begin to experience some supernatural things. And these unseen heavenly forces will come to your aid. Salutations, Nikki. Salutations. All right, y'all. Okay, that's what I was saying before. Tootie baby cut me off. The first judge of any importance after Gideon was Jephthah. He too fell short of being the ideal Hebrew ruler. His father had married a woman of another tribe, an unusual occurrence in a time when a woman who left her tribe was held in contempt. Jephthah, the offspring of his union, had to bear the consequences of his mother's irregular conduct. So many annoyances were put upon him that he was forced to leave his home and settle in a heathen district. At first, Jephthah refused to accept the rulership which the people offered him in the assembly at Mizpah, for he had not forgotten the wrongs to which he had been subjected. In the end, however, he yielded and placed himself at the head of the people in the war against Gital, the king of the Ammonites. At his departure, he vowed before Yahuwah to sacrifice to him whatever came forth out of the doors of his house to meet him when he returned a victor from war. Yahuwah was angry and said, So Jephthah has vowed to offer unto me the first thing that shall meet him. If a dog were the first to meet him, would a dog be sacrificed to me? Now shall the vow of Jephthah be visited on his firstborn, on his own offspring. Yea, his prayer shall be visited on by his only daughter. But I assuredly shall deliver my people, not for Jephthah's sake, but for the sake of the prayers of Israel. The first to meet him after his successful campaign was his daughter Shelah. Overwhelmed by anguish, the father cried out, Rightly was the name Shelah, the one who is demanded, given to thee, that thou shouldest be offered up as a sacrifice. Who shall set my heart in the balance and my soul as the weight, that I may stand to see whether that which happened to me is joy or sorrow? But because I opened my mouth to Yahuwah and uttered a vow, I cannot take it back. Then Shelah spoke, saying, Why dost thou grieve for my death, since the people was delivered? Thou dost not remember what happened in the day of our forefathers, when the father offered his son as a burnt offering, and the son did not refuse, but consented gladly, and the offerer and the offered were both full of joy? Therefore do as thou hast spoken. But before I die, I will ask thee a favor. Grant me that I may go with my companions upon the mountain, sojourn among the hills, and tread upon the rocks, to shed my tears, and deposit there the grief of my lost youth. The trees of the field shall weep for me, and the beasts of the field shall mourn for me. I do not grieve for my death, nor because I have to yield up my life, but because when my father vowed his heedless vow, he did not have me in mind. I fear, therefore, that I may not be an acceptable sacrifice, and that my death shall be for nothing. Shelah and her companions went forth and told her case to the sages of the people, but none of them could give her any help. Then she went up to Mount Telag, where Yahuwah appeared to her at night, saying unto her, I have closed the mouth of the sages of my people in this generation, that they cannot answer the daughter of Jephthah a word, that my vow be fulfilled, and nothing of what I have thought remain undone. I know her to be wiser than her father, and all the wise men, and now her soul shall be accepted at her request, and her death shall be very precious before my face all time. Shelah began to bewail her fate in these words, Hearken, ye mountains, to my lamentations, and ye hills, to the tears of my eyes, and ye rocks, testify to the weeping of my soul. My words will go up to heaven, and my tears will be written in the firmament. I have not been granted the joy of wedding, nor was the wreath of my betrothal completed. I have not been decked with ornaments, nor have I been scented with myrrh and with aromatic perfumes. I have not been anointed with the oil that was prepared for me. Alas, O mother, it was in vain that thou didst give birth to me. The grave was destined to be my bridal chamber. The oil thou didst prepare for me will be spilled, and the white garments my mother sewed for me, the moth will eat them. The bridal wreath my nurse wound for me will wither, and my garments in blue and purple the worms will destroy them, and my companions will all their days lament over me. And now, ye trees, incline your branches and weep over my youth. Ye beasts of the forest, come and trample upon my virginity, for my years are cut off, and the days of my life grow old in darkness. Her lamentations were as of little avail as her arguments with her father. In vain she sought to prove him, from the Torah that the law speaks of only animal sacrifices, never of human sacrifices. Even she knew that, y'all. In vain she cited an example of Jacob, who had vowed to give Yahuwah a tenth of all the possession he owned, yet did not attempt later to sacrifice one of his sons. Jephthah was inexorable. All he would yield was a respite during which his daughter might visit various scholars who were to decide whether he was bound by his vow. According to the Torah, his vow was entirely invalid. He was not even obliged to pay his daughter's value in money, but the scholars of his time had forgotten this halakha, and they decided that he must keep his vow. The forgetfulness of the scholars was of Yahuwah, ordained as a punishment upon Jephthah for having slaughtered thousands of Ephraim. Ooh. Killing your brother's children. One man there was living at the time who, if he had been questioned about the case, would have been able to give a decision. This was the high priest Phinehas, but he said proudly, "What, I, a high priest, the son of a high priest, should humiliate myself and go to an ignoramus?" Jephthah, on the other hand, said, "What, I, the chief of the tribes of Israel, the first prince of the land, should I humiliate myself and go to one of rank and file?" So only the rival between Jephthah and Phinehas caused the loss of a young life. Their punishment did not miss them. Jephthah dies a horrible death. Limb by limb his body was dismembered. For as the high priest, the Holy Spirit departed from him, and he had to give up his priestly dignity. As it had been Jephthah's task to ward off the Amorites, so his successor Abdon was occupied with protecting Israel against the Moabites. The king of Moab sent messengers to Abdon, and they spoke thus: "Thou well knowest that Israel took possession of the city that belonged to me. Return them." Abdon's reply was, "Know ye not that the Ammonites fared? The measure of Moab's sins, it seems, out against the enemy, slew 45,000 of their number and routed the rest." All right, y'all. Now we're heading over here to Samson. Shalom, Mom. Shalom, shalom. Hey, babe.
What's up?
You came down right when we was reading about Samson.
Samson?
The last judge but one, Samson, was not the most important of the judges, but he was the greatest hero of the period, except Goliath, who was the greatest hero of all times. He was the son of Manoah of the tribe of Dan, and his wife Zelophehad of the tribe of Judah, and he was born to them at a time when they had given up all hope of having children. Samson's birth is a striking illustration of the short-sightedness of human beings. The judge Isban had not invited Manoah and Zelophehad to any of the 120 feasts in honor of the marriage of his 60 children.
Hey! 60 children.
They had 60 children, sir. You think this body pushing out 60 children? We already at 6.
Push one more out of that.
Listen here,
You know you want to.
Mr. Murphy.
You know you want to.
I would love to do anything with you. Hold on, let me go back. Threw me off on my sentence. Hold on. Y'all, let me get myself together. Hold on. The judge Isban had not invited Manoah and Zelophehad to any of the 120 feasts in honor of the marriage of his 60 children, which were celebrated at his house and at the house of their parents-in-law, because he thought that the sterile she-mule would never be in a position to repay his courtesy. It turned out that Samson's parents were blessed with an extraordinary son, while Isban saw his 60 children die during his lifetime. 7 is a beautiful number, Tiffany. Look, whose side is you on, sis? No, seriously. Children are a blessing. They really are. Now that we can have them like on purpose and literally shoot them forth like arrows. Oh, if y'all understood what that meant. Whew. I don't know. He might just be down to give you one more, Mr. Murphy. I might even consider a few more.
You know you want to look back on the
Look, hold on, look, okay.
Yeah,
Samson's strength was superhuman, and the dimensions of his body were gigantic. He measured 60 ells between the shoulders. Yet he had one imperfection. He was maimed in both feet. The first evidence of his gigantic strength he gave when he uprooted 2 great mountains and rubbed them against each other. Such feats he was able to perform as often as the spirit of Yahuwah was poured out over him. Whenever this happened, it was indicated by his hair. It began to move and emit a bell-like sound which could be heard far off. Besides, while the Spirit rested upon him, he was able with one stride to cover a distance equal to that between Zorah and Eshtaol. It was Samson's supernatural strength that made Jacob think that he would be the Messiah. When Yahuwah showed Samson's latter end, then he realized that the new era would not be ushered in by the hero judge. Samson won his first victory over the Philistines. So let's go back. Hold on, look. When Jacob had since been gone, right? He was already in the grave. But remember, they had the celestial light, or the sleep that we sleep in, where our pineal gland, like seeing, that church people call it seeing in the spirit. Some people call it using the third eye, but it's the same thing. And it what's the word I want to use?
Activate.
Which is that back?
Activate.
It's activated, but it comes forth out that gland. Everybody has that, which is why if your pineal gland has been calcified, you're really kind of dumb in spiritual matters. You cannot get it, which tells me you have a filthy body. You need to clean your body out. You need to go on a water fast. Eat pineapples. Pineapples will decalcify your pineal gland, as will apples. You could go on a fast of eating apples, and in about 30 days, first of all, you will be cleansing, but you will begin to know that you will begin to see that you become sensitive to the spiritual realm. Why? Because your pineal gland, it's a little gland inside every human being's head, is becoming, you're reversing the effects of the calcification that has happened through improper diet, y'all. Like, this is a scientific fact now. While a lot of people don't really understand it, just think it's a whole bunch of spiritual hocus pocus. No, even the scientists know this, which is why they're big on pushing junk and constantly showing commercials here in America. First of all, they know who we are, and they constantly push these things to keep us off our square. And as long as we constantly flood ourselves and we eating whatever passes our face, and we don't get this action under control, we will forever be deadened to what's going on around us. And that's how they keep the upper hand and keep us away from the most holy, by helping us satisfy fleshly desires, things that we should be putting to sleep. They want to keep alive and well in us. But as you begin to push away the king's plate, you push away the king's meat, you will begin to drop some of that salt on you, some of that wisdom, like Daniel and the 3 Hebrew, all of them. Like, seriously, it'll begin to happen. Don't just take my word for it. I'm telling y'all, go try it. Cleanse your body out. Clean it out. Get enough fresh flowing water through your body to wash out toxins. Reverse the calcification of your pineal gland, or where the seat of the seat, it's the seat, how you say it? It's the seat of the soul. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the seat of the soul, but it helps you to see. Like I said, there's a lot of scientific evidence and proof that kind of connects spiritual insight to that gland inside of every human being's brain being either freely flowing, undamaged, or it being calcified, right? You just can't, right? So it can be reversed. Cleanse your body out. Stop taking in a bunch of garbage into yourself, through your eye, through all your gates. Stop taking in craziness through all your face openings, right? You got 7. Is it 7? Hold on. 5. Wait, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Yeah. Stop taking in craziness through these 7 gates on the head, right? Because it feeds directly into this. A lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of people don't even care to pay attention. But nevertheless, it's true. Just because you don't believe it don't mean it ain't true. But I'm telling you what I know. Stop taking in craziness through these 7 gates on the head. And you'll begin to perceive spiritual and supernatural things, which is why Jacob could see Samson being born in his time. He wasn't alive, but he saw him down in the generations, which it said he thought that Samson would be the Messiah by the things that he was doing, right? So what does that tell us, my G? It's some great things is going to be happening when the true Messiah, right? We know Yahuwah is the Messiah, but the one like Moses, whoever is going to be, like I said, I don't know. But I know who they tell you it is, it ain't. Because he ain't did nothing. Not now, one thing that this talks about, right? They got a couple different people mashed in, mixed in together. When you read when you read in the New Testament, some of the stories and real life historical events are kind of mashed up and mixed together, right? Okay, but we ain't gonna get into that today. That's what I'm saying. You have to, in order to be able to weed out the leaven from the loaf, spit out the bones, and eat the meat, you have to be aware of some things, and you actually further your understanding and what you know along a lot faster by cleansing out your body, right, and becoming sensitive to the unseen world around us. Okay, I said all that to say that Jacob thought Samson was going to be the Messiah back in his day because he was able to see. He had the foresight, and all of that stuff was still open. Yahuwah had not completely cut off the celestial light until after the last of them had died in Egypt, right? Okay. So, but everything that they have was passed down from them, because even from Adam knew everybody. Who would say he showed everybody? All the generations, all the expounders of Torah, all the teachers, great scholars, prophets, they saw everybody. Even to our generation, we're included there, right? They all know us by name. Okay, that's it. Let me go back. Listen. It was Samson's supernatural strength that made Jacob think that he would be the Messiah. When Yahuwah showed him Samson's latter end, then he realized that the new era would not be ushered in by the hero judge. Samson won his first victory over the Philistines by means of the jawbone of the ass on which Abraham had made his way to Mount Moriah. It had been preserved miraculously. After this victory, a great wonder befell. Samson was at the point of perishing from thirst when water began to flow from his own mouth as a spring. Besides physical prowess, Samson possessed also spiritual distinctions. He was unselfish to the last degree. He had been of exceeding great help to the Israelites, but he never asked the smallest service for himself. When Samson told Delilah that he was a Nazarite unto Yahuwah, she was certain that he had divulged the true secret of his strength. She knew his character too well to entertain the idea that he would couple the name of Yahuwah with an untruth. There was a weak side to his There was a weak side to his character too. He allowed sensual pleasures to dominate him. The consequence was that he who went astray after his eyes lost his eyes. Remember, measure for measure. Okay. Even this severe punishment produced no change of heart. He continued to lead his old life of profligacy in prison, and he was encouraged thereto by the Philistines, who set aside all considerations of family purity in the hope of descendants who should be equals of Samson in giant strength and stature. As throughout life, Samson had given many proofs of superhuman power. So in the moment of death, he entreated Yahuwah to realize in him the blessing of Jacob and endow him with divine strength. He expired with the words upon his lips, O Master of the world, vouchsafe unto me in this life and recompense for the loss of one of my eyes. For the loss of the other, I will wait to be rewarded in the world to come. Even after his death, Samson was a shield unto the Israelites. Fear of him had so cowed the Philistines that for 20 years they did not dare to attack the Israelites. The crime of the Benjamites. A part of the money which Delilah received from the Philistines' lord as the prince of Samson's secret, she gave to her son Micah, and he used it to make an idol for himself. This sin was more unpardonable, as Micah owed his life to a miracle performed by Moses. During the times of the Egyptian oppression, if the prescribed number of bricks was not furnished by the Israelites, their children were used as building material. I remember when we read that, right? Like if they didn't produce, they went and got one of the Hebrew babies, took them and put them inside of the wall, right? Horrible, horrible. Let me go back. I'm gonna read. Okay, I'll go back up here. This sin. Let me just start back up here. Look, a part of the money which Delilah received from the Philistines' lord as the prince of Samson's secret, she gave to her son Micah, and he used it to make an idol for himself. This sin was more unpardonable, as Micah owed his life to a miracle performed by Moses. During the times of the Egyptian oppression, if the prescribed number of bricks was not furnished by the Israelites. Good morning. Give me out. You need what? Why are you? Go in the bathroom and get some. Ask your dad to hand you some. All right. During the times of the Egyptian oppression, if the prescribed number of bricks was not furnished by the Israelites, their children were used as building material. Such would have been Micah's fate if he had not been saved in a miraculous way. Moses wrote down the name of Yahuwah and put the words on Micah's body. The dead boy came to life, and Moses drew him out of the wall of which he was made a part. Micah did not show himself worthy of the wonder done for him. Oh boy, I tell y'all, when Yahuwah reveals this name back unto us, the world better watch out. What? Because I got it right here in both hands, ready to will. If Yahuwah say, go ahead, sis, drop it on them like fire. I'm like, yes, been waiting for this moment. Look, I ain't playing, y'all. Look. Micah did not show himself worthy of the wonder done for him. Even before the Israelites left Egypt, he made his idol, and it was he who fashioned the golden calf. At the time of Othniel the judge, he took up his abode at a distance of not more than 3 miles from the sanctuary at Shiloh, and won over the grandson of Moses to officiate as priest before his idol. The sanctuary which Michael erected harbored various idols. He had 3 images of boys, three of calves, 1 lion, an eagle, a dragon, and a dove. When a man came who wanted a wife, was directed. I'm sorry, I'm reading too fast. Okay. When a man came who wanted a wife, he was directed to appeal to the dove. If riches were his desire, he worshipped the eagle. For daughters, both to the cows, to the lion for strength, and to the dragon for long life. Sacrifices and incense alike were offered to these idols, and both had to be purchased with cash money from Micah. Even, I think to say, didrachems for a sacrifice, and 1 for incense. The rapid degeneration in the family of Moses may be accounted for by the fact that Moses had married the daughter of a priest who ministered to idols. Yet the grandson of Moses was not an idolater of ordinary caliber. His sinful conduct was not without a semblance of morality. From his grandfather he had heard the rule that a man should do Abdoah Zarah for hire rather than be dependent upon his fellow creatures. The meaning of Abdoah Zarah here naturally is strange in the sense of unusual work, but he took the term in its ordinary acception of service of strange gods. For so far from being a whole-souled idolater, hey, calm down there, y'all. So far from being a whole-soul idolater, he adopted methods calculated to harm the cause of idol worship. Whenever anyone came leading an animal with the intention of sacrificing it, he would say, "What good can the idol do to thee? It can neither see, nor hear, nor speak." But he was concerned about his own livelihood and did not want to offend the idolaters too grossly. He would continue, "If thou bringest a dish of flour and a few eggs, it will suffice. This offering he would eat himself." Under David, he fulfilled the position of treasurer. David appointed him because he thought that a man who was willing to become priest to an idol only in order to earn his bread must be worthy of confidence. However sincere his repentance may have been, he relapsed into his former life when he was removed from his office by Solomon, who filled all positions with new incumbents at his accession to the throne. Finally, he abandoned his idolatrous ways wholly and became so pure a man that he was favored by Yahuwah with the gift of prophecy. This happened on the day on which the man of Yahuwah out of Judah came to Jeroboam, for the grandson of Moses is none other than the old prophet at Bethel, who invited the man of Yahuwah out of Judah to come to his house. The mischief done by Micah spread further and further. Especially the Benjamites distinguished themselves for their zeal in paying homage to his idols. Yahuwah therefore resolved to visit the sins of Israel and Benjamin upon them. The opportunity did not delay to come. It was not long before the Benjamites committed the outrage of Gibeah. Before the house of Bethak, a venerable old man, they imitated the disgraceful conduct of the Sodomites before the house of Lot. When the other tribes exacted amends from the Benjamites, they were denied satisfaction. Bloody combats ensued. At first, the Benjamites prevailed in spirit. At first, the Benjamites prevailed and spit in the fact that the Urim and Thummim, questioned by Phinehas, had encouraged the Israelites to take up the conflict with the words, "Up to war, I shall deliver them into your hands." After the tribes had again and again suffered defeat, they recognized the intention of Yahuwah to betray them as a punishment for their sins. They therefore ordained a day of fasting and convocation before the holy ark, and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, entreated Yahuwah in their behalf. "What means this, that thou leadest us astray? Is the deed of the Benjamites right in thine eyes? Then why did thou not command us to desist from the combat? But what if our brethren have done is evil in thy sight? Then why dost thou cause us to fall before them in battle? O God of our fathers, hearken unto my voice. Make it known unto this day thy servant, whether the war waged with Benjamin is pleasing in thine eyes, or whether thou should punish thy people for its sins. Then the sinners among us will amend their ways. I am mindful of what happened in the days of my youth, at the time of Moses. In the zeal of my soul, I slew two for the sin of Zimri. And when his well-wishers sought to kill me, thou didst send an angel who cut off 24,000 of them and delivered me. But now 11 of thy tribes have gone forth to do thy bidding, to avenge and to slay, and lo, they have themselves been slain, and so that they are made to believe that thy revelations are lying and deceitful. O Yahuwah, the God of our forefathers, nothing is hidden before thee. Make it manifest why this misfortune has overtaken us. Yahuwah replied to Phinehas at great length, setting forth why 11 tribes suffered so heavily. Yahuwah had wanted to punish them for having permitted Micah and his mother Delilah to pursue their evil ways undisturbed, though they were zealous beyond measure in avenging the wrong done to the woman at Gibeah. As soon as all those had perished who were guilty of having aided and abetted Micah in his idolatrous practices, whether directly or indirectly, Yahuwah was willing to help them in their conflicts with the Benjamites. Ooh. So it came. In the battle fought soon after, 75,000 Benjamites fell slain. Only 600 of the tribe survived. Fearing to remain in Palestine, the small band immigrated to Italy and Germany. At the same time, the punishment promised them by Yahuwah overtook the two chief sinners. Micah lost his life by fire, and his mother rotted alive. Worms crawled from her body. Oh, Delilah got, whew, boy, she got what was coming to her. And that's pretty gross. Imagine being alive while your body rots away. That's disgusting. I would have died over and over again. I hate bugs, and don't come near my person. Like, and you gotta sit in your own stank. Look, hold on. I don't think y'all understand how gross that is. Look, Michael lost his life by fire, and his mother rotted alive. Worms crawled from her body. In spite of the great mischief caused by Micah, he had one good quality. Yahuwah permitted it to plead for him when the angels stood up against him as his accusers. He was extremely hospitable. His house always stood wide open to the wanderer, and his hospitality he owed it that he was granted a share. And to his hospitality, he owed it that he was granted a share in the future world. In hell, Micah is the first in the 6th division, which is under the guidance of the angel Hadriel, and he is the only one in the division who is spared hell tortures. Micah's sons was Jeroboam, whose golden calves were sinful far beyond anything his father had done. In those days, Yahuwah spake to Phinehas, "Thou art 120 years old. Thou hast reached the natural term of man's life. Go now, betake thyself to the mountain Danabin, and remain there many years. I will command the eagles to sustain thee with food, so that thou returnest not to men until the time when thou lockest fast the clouds and openest them again. Then I will carry thee to the place where those are who were before thee, and there thou wilt tarry until I visit the world and bring thee thither to taste of death." He said he gonna stay there until Yahuwah himself comes to visit the world. We know Yahuwah ain't came to visit us yet. Yeah. The time is close though. The time is close. Oh, chapter 3. What time is it? Okay, we're gonna stop here. Samuel and Saul. Yeah, we're gonna stop here. Okay, so we'll start fresh with Elkanah and Hannah and the prophet Samuel, the seer. All right, y'all. So that was Legends of the Jews, and we started on page 399, and we ended on page 403. Tomorrow we'll pick this up, right? And tomorrow starts chapter 3 of volume 4. Judges we read 7, 8, and 9. Y'all, it is Saturday, March the 13th, 2021, day 100 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 769. All right, y'all. Remember that is without the Sabbath days added and the feast day Sabbath days added into the count, because if we added them, we'd be at like about 1,000 consecutive days. Yep. Almost at 1,000. Let's see, 104. Almost at 1,000. Oh yeah, almost at 1,000. Okay. But all right, so tonight we begin watching for the showing of the new moon, right? So yesterday would be in the Sabbath because it was the last Sabbath of this moon cycle. We saw no moon, right? Because all the light is wholly extinguished, right? Yesterday she was already considered the new moon. Remember, when she's completely black and you can't see her, she's the new moon. but we can't call the new moon till we actually can spot the new moon, which is why it's the sliver. When we see the sliver and she shows up for approximately about 2 hours, maybe a little bit short, just depending on where you at, she'll show up, boom, hey, we starting a new month tomorrow, I'm out, you know. And then we begin to see her rise in the morning with the sun, right? So when you see the sun out and you see the moon growing, she'll start getting bigger, at least over here in the United States when we look at her. She'll begin growing bigger starting at the right side. So the sliver we'll see starting over at the right side, like that little backward C, that right there, that's the sliver, right? It's the first light into her disc. And so she begins to get bigger, going from right to left, right? Just right to left. She grows, she waxes, then she wanes, right? Okay. So if we see her tonight, tomorrow will be new moon day, the first day of the new month, which is also the first day of the first month. Did I say that right? It's the first day of the new month, which is the first month of the year. Remember, the years begin in springtime, right? Just like the cycle of life. Like, I know we all discombobulated sometime because we're on a Gregorian calendar, the January through December calendar. But remember, look, life begins in infancy. The moon starts its infancy, then she grows over the course of 30 days and she gets older and she dies. Just like the cycle of life. We started in conception. It's like when we're in our mother, look. When our mothers are pregnant, right? We can't see the baby, but we know it's a baby in there. So it's kind of like the new moon. We got a new life coming, but we can't call new life till the baby actually passes through the mother's canal, right? And then boom, the first sliver of life we see. And then baby begins to wax great, right? And then there comes a point where life begins to wane and we begin to lose our strength and we return back to the dust, right? Same thing. Yahuwah does the same thing in the same cycle all the time. You just got to be able to see it, right? If you understand the laws and everything that's happening, when you see it, you can't unsee it. You see it everywhere, right? Okay, that's pretty cool. So remember, first sliver, she shows up, boom. Okay, we can begin counting the new month starting with tomorrow if she shows tonight. So be watching. If you're going to be out watching, start paying attention about when the sun about to go down, right? And watch in the area where the sun goes down. Depending on where you at, I'm not sure what your view is, where you live. You may have to get out and like drive around the sunset to see. I don't know. I only know how to do it where I'm at now, right? So I know if I can't see the moon over by my house, and I learned this. Enoch talks about how the moon at different months, she enters and she enters and exits through different gates, right? And so one time, like last year when I was fine, I was like, wait a minute, where's the moon? And I realized, wait a minute, oh, that's right, different gates. So voila, I got to get out, drive around, boom, there she is. I was like, okay, clearly this must be a gate over here in this direction somewhere. So I'm certain of 3 gates in the sky, at least the direction of the gates, right? Because I'm tracking. I've been doing this for a few years, y'all, so I'm just trying to remember as I'm actually watching in real time in the sky, right? So I clearly know this is a gate here. There's a gate. If I look at the back of my house, like between the trees, there's a gate right up in here somewhere. And if I leave out of my house and I go around a block over, like if I go down Bruin, she'll show like over here, that's a gate in the sky. Like, I don't know. I'm like down here on the earth. Maybe I don't know. I can only see it from down here on the ground. So I'm paying attention. I'm making mental markers in my mind and in the sky. So, but what I haven't done yet is really piece together, okay, which month. So I should have been writing it down, but I haven't been writing it down. I've just been noticing. But as time goes on now, I'm trying to catch it. Okay, so this part of the month, this month here, this was March when this happened. So okay, so as I track it for the next few months and stuff, and over the rest of the year and into next year, whatever, I should have a clearer picture about which months the moon changes. I'm sure other people know. I just haven't figured out yet, and I haven't really found anybody else that actually is looking at the gates and the portals in the sky where she shows. I'm sure they may be out there. I just haven't found them, and I'm real live time tracking it myself. You know, so I may have the names all, but I can tell you which direction, you know, where to look at this time during the year, right? And it's easy. We can kind of categorize it by the season. Okay, when it's cold, you know, this, at least if we're using like November, December, and January, here is where I've noticed boom, boom, boom. And so that's what I'm trying to do, it categorize it by the years and what I see. So as I go on, I get a bigger picture, just like over the last couple years of tracking the new moon. As I began to go back and look at my calendar, I realized the pattern that was flowing throughout my calendar that showed me that the Sabbaths lined up with the new moons. I'm like, get out of here, right? So you can't know what you don't track. Track everything. If it's important, track it. And if you track it, you'll begin to see a pattern. And if you recognize the pattern, you can make adjustments on purpose and get to your desired end. I'm telling you, it's fun. Maybe I'm a little bit too much of a geek, or I don't know, whatever. But anyway, nevertheless, it's exciting to me. All right, so, and I'm sure I'm going to use this wisdom and knowledge and wherever I need to, whenever I need to, right? And I just share it with y'all. If y'all go sit here and listen to me, I'm going to tell you. All right, but I got to go ahead and get off of here today. I know it's Saturday, but I got a few things I need to get done. Chill. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead over here and read the blessing, which is found in Numbers. Oh, see, there it go. That's where we gotta go. They're starting already. Y'all, please give that back to her. Isaiah, give it back. Thank you. Okay, y'all. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember the Nazarite vows, the first 21 verses of this chapter. Remember, Samson was a Nazarite from birth, right? Okay, so his mom, look, he was a Nazarite from birth, which also meant that his mom was a Nazarite, at least the entire time she was pregnant with him, right? That we know from just from a little bit of study. And also we'll find Samuel's mother as well, right? Okay, but if you understand it, you can see it when it's being taken. Even though they don't call it out, you can clearly tell he was a Nazarite or she was a Nazarite, right? Okay. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I think that's it for today. Kathy, shalom, shalom. Okay. All right, y'all. Peace. We out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I stand my post. Let me type things, y'all. Oh, yeah. Me too. Yay. Yay. All right, y'all. Okay, y'all. I see y'all in the morning, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.